And we're in Genesis 27. Genesis 27. Okay, this is an amazing chapter. It's when Isaac gets ready to bless Jacob. Now watch the confession that comes out accidentally, but it does come out. Okay, and in a moment of truth, all of us tend to have truth come out of us that we may have hidden at another time, but it just seems to come out in the moment of truth. And I see Judgment Day that way when you're before the Lord and things are shaking on the inside and you're not equipped for this Judgment Day. The moment of truth will be there and things will just come out. Whether it's because of anger or terror or whatever it is, the truth is going to come out. And confessions are going to come out. What's going to happen here, Isaac, is he's thinking maybe he's going to die, and even his son Esau says maybe he's going to die. Do you remember after this blessing takes place and goes on, he says, as soon as my father passes away, didn't happen for a while, but I don't know if he's sick or just feeling old or what the situation is, but he thinks he's about to die. So Isaac is going to call his favorite son, which is not Jacob, okay? Esau, and it's interesting, he's quite old at this point in time. He's going to live on for another, like 43 years or something like that. But anyway, let's just jump right in. Verse 1. It came about when Isaac was old, his eyes were too dim to see. That is, he seems to see a blur. Okay. And that he called his older son Esau, says to him, my son, he said to him, here I am. And Isaac said, behold now, I am old, and I do not know the day of my death. Now then, please, take your gear, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. And prepare a savory dish for me, such as that I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, so that my soul may bless you before I die. Understand, my soul is my very life and my longings. I want to do this, okay? I want you to know something. This is Isaac's favorite boy because he's macho. Nothing more than that. It says he's an adult at this time, and he's married to a couple of girls that in a moment, when he realizes, he says, these girls, translators say they weren't pleasing in his eyes. That's certainly not what the Hebrew text says. It says they were really evil and bad in his eyes. He saw them as vile. His son had married these two vile women, right? They're just horrible. Okay, and so he runs off and leaves that area because he's starting to get a clue. This is a guy who cared about nobody until the end, and his world came crashing down, and then he began to get a clue. What's Dad so upset for? Well, look at the life you're living, kind of thing. But in spite of that, that's still his favorite boy. Okay, not for good reasons. Not for good reasons here. Okay, so he's going to pass this line on because he likes Esau. Now, this is interesting to me. Okay, he doesn't consult God or his wife or Jacob or anybody else. He's just going to do this, right? He knows that the Lord told his wife that the younger, right, is going to be the firstborn, right? That's how this is going to happen. He knows this. He's going to defy the Lord and do this, right? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. If you think those three families are godly men and that's why God chose them, you better read closer, kind of thing. They're not. He knows better than to do what he's doing. But this is his favorite boy. So I don't think he's thinking this through, right? He ignores what God said to her. He ignores the fact that Esau bartered it away and sold it to his brother. Okay? And no doubt there are some other witnesses to that as well. He's ignoring his son's morality or lack thereof. He was very immoral. Right? He's ignoring that in his grievous marriages, right? And he's still intent on treating this firstborn as the firstborn, even though he sold that right. Okay. Rebekah, verse 5, was listening while Isaac spoke to his son Esau. By the way, why do you think she's listening? I think. And by the way, Rebekah does not shine well at all. She goes around behind her husband's back and does certain things, deceives him, tricks him, kind of thing. I'd like to be married to her. Okay? She's listening while Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game, literally goes out to game for game, literally, okay? and to bring home. Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Behold, I heard your father speak to your brother Esau, saying, 'Bring me some game and prepare a savory dish for me, that I may eat and bless you in the presence of Yahweh before my death.'" Now, I don't know if she's adding those other words here, but nonetheless, "Now, therefore, my son, listen to me as I command you." Now, I want you to know, this is interesting. Jacob's not a little boy, but he's getting commanded by his mom. Okay? She'll do this several times in this passage, and she says wild things, absolutely wild things, okay? By the way, let me tell you something. Do you remember it says Rebecca was quite lovely, wasn't she? She's a beautiful woman, okay? I've known some men married to some women that they could be models on magazines. I mean, they're incredibly gorgeous. But what's striking to that is their husbands could not stand them, and later on would seek divorce. Because it takes more than beauty, okay? This woman has beauty, but she's not the kind of gal that you would trust. Okay? Go now to the flock. I'm commanding you. You do this. You go to the flock. You bring me 2 choice kids from there. Literally, it's 2 young kids of goats. Okay. By the way, do you remember the word goat means rebellion? I find that fascinating because that's what she's doing, is rebelling. "That I may prepare them as a savory dish for your father, such as he loves. Then you shall bring it to your father, that he may eat, so that he may bless you before his death." Now Jacob answered his mother Rebekah, "And behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I will be to him as a cheat or a deceiver in his sight, and I shall bring upon myself a curse and not a blessing." The word for curse here is to be like totally unimportant. Just, you mean nothing to me anymore. But his mother said to him, "Your curse be upon me." Do you remember somebody else who said something similar? "His blood be upon me." Remember those words? Upon us and our families and things like that. Now watch this. "Your curse be upon me," if there is one. And Jacob is not going to curse his own son. And so she's going to be safe here. "Only obey my voice. Do what you're told. Do what I'm telling you. You go and get them for me." So he went and he got them. He brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory food such as his father loved. It sounds to me like she's done this before. Right? She knows how to make this gamey taste, right? Or maybe there's some other game in the house that she can add to it or whatever to give it that flavor. "Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau, her elder son, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son." Now, what she's doing with these garments, I do not know, because he is more than old enough to have his wife doing any cleaning or anything like that. There are some that said, it's possible this would be like a priestly robe when the head of the family is doing priestly work, offering sacrifice to God or something like that. Now, if he's aware of the fact that he is going to be receiving his dad's estate and inheritance, thing like that, is it possible that he went in there and he's been wearing these garments around, right? A little practice. Going to be the big man in town. Well, if he does, his fragrance is on him. He's an outdoorsman. He's got a smell on him, okay? Did that, and I got to tell you, years ago, our son was quite the hunter. He hunted every chance he could get. And he'd be out in the brush and shooting deer and different things like that. Every time he came home, we had a cat. And he would go to shower, and that cat would go in there, find his clothes, sniff those clothes, and then relieve himself on all his clothes. Every time. He's a teen. I can remember saying, "Mom, that stupid cat," that kind of thing. So when you're out in the fields like that, that odor is on you, and if he comes through there and he's strutting around with that kind of stuff, who knows? All right, so Rebekah took the garment, Esau, her elder son, which were with her in the house, put them on Jacob, her younger son. She put the skins of the kids, these goats, on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. So also she gave the savory food and the bread, other food besides that, and she gave that to her son Jacob. Then he came into his father and said, "My father," he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" And notice, he recognizes his voice, but he asks this. And Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn." Okay? Is he? No. He is not. He bought the title, he bought those things, that's true, but he's not telling his father that he's not Esau, no matter what he says. Okay? I have done as you told me. Did he tell him to do this? No. Get up, please, or sit up, and eat my game, it's not his, that you may bless me. Isaac said to his son, how is it that you have so quickly gotten this, my son? He said, because Yahweh, your God, caused it to happen to me. Did he tell the truth? He's bringing Yahweh in on this now, right? The Lord? Oh, I swear by the Lord. Well, you probably shouldn't do that. This is strike for strike. This is a mess, right? Esau's no better. He's got two boys that are both kind of scoundrels. So and he's married to a woman. My goodness. The line that Jesus comes through, the point being here, it's not that great, okay? And I say that because there are times when we're all not very great. We don't shine by any means. And if our being justified before God depends on our conduct, how are we going to all fare? Not well. Not well. Verse 21. Isaac said to Jacob, please come close, that I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not. Is he having doubts? Indeed he is. He recognizes Jacob's voice. Come near to me. So Jacob came close to Isaac, his father. He felt him and he said, the voice is the voice of Jacob. These hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. And so he blessed him. And he said, are you really my son Esau? And he said, I am. What is this, line number 5 by now? He said, bring it to me, and I will eat of my son's game, that I may bless you. So he brought it to him, and he ate, and he also brought him wine, and he drank. And then his father Isaac said to him, please come close and kiss me, my son. I want you to know he's betraying his father with a kiss. This is horrible. Hey, you guys are fathers. You know what this would feel like to you if this happened to you, right? I mean, he's an adult son. He's not a 4-year-old that hiding the fact that he stole some cookies from mom's jar while she wasn't looking. I think we're not talking about that. We're talking about this is incredible stuff. He's getting the deed to the ranch. This is big stuff, right? He's inheriting tens of millions of dollars worth of inheritance, and for your adult son to do that would be horrific, absolutely horrific here. Okay? So Jacob is in on this, which is terrible. Okay. By the way, at this time Esau has been married for 37 years. He's not a newbie either. He's not a boy. Okay. And it's just going to go downhill from there. By the way, your curse be upon me. In just a moment, she's going to say, you get out of here. Actually, she tells him, run for it. Your brother's going to kill you and that sort of thing. And I'll send you when his heat of his anger is gone so he doesn't kill you, right? He will never see his mom again. Come near and kiss me, my son. So he came close and he kissed him. And when he smelled the smell of the garment, by the way, you understand he's doing more than just getting a kiss. He's still checking him out. And he blessed him. Now see, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field. Those are his words that he would have used for Esau, because Esau was a man of the field. Jacob was a man of the tents. He liked being home. Okay? Which Yahweh has blessed. Now may God give you of the dew of heaven. There's a blessing. Typically that's rain and dew. Okay? And of the fatness of the earth. The word fatness is the word oil. The oil of the earth. Okay? And an abundance of grain and new wine. So he's calling the blessings of heaven and earth, which will eventually belong to Jesus Christ, because that's the blessing coming through the seed. May people serve you. All nations will go and bow down to you. Be master of your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Do you remember Joseph's dream? And his brothers bowed down to him. Okay, and that took place. He was a type of Christ. And then later on, Jacob appoints Judah and says, to you, the brothers are going to bow down when Jesus gets here. Okay? Now, cursed be those who curse you, and blessed be those who bless you. There's Abraham's seed promise being passed on through him. By the way, it's not going to stop with him. It goes through him to the next seed and on down until Jesus shows up. Verse 30. Now it came about as soon as he had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had hardly gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. It's almost like he just turned the corner wearing his brother's robes when his brothers walked into the room. This is close. By the way, we don't know, but what would have happened if he would have seen his brother wearing his garments with goat skin on his hands and around his neck? This whole thing is really suspicious. Verse 31. He also made savory food, and he brought it to his father. He said to his father, "Let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that you may bless me." And as Isaac his father said to him, "Who are you?" He said, "I am your son, your firstborn, Esau." And Isaac trembled with trembling, literally what it says, and it was violent trembling. He is shaken. He understands what has happened. My goodness, I've signed the deed. I've signed the property over. It's all done. I can't undo it. Now, who was he then that hunted game and brought it to me so that I ate all of it before you came? And I bless him, yes, and he's going to remain blessed. Okay. Let me show you that. Now, there's a possibility that either he says, I can't undo it, or I'm not. He's shaking, he knows that, he's remembering things, and just says, I'm not going to undo this. I'm going to leave it this way. God has intervened. Okay? Now, what's fascinating to me, the same exact thing is going to happen to Jacob. Remember, he's going to go down there and spend time with Laban, kind of thing. And he's going to make a deal, and in the middle of the deal, horse trading was going on, kind of behind the scenes. So literally the same thing's happening to him that he did to his dad, okay? And who knows what would have happened had it not been done this way. I do know this. Do you remember the story when David was in a city, and he had found out Saul knew he was there and was coming, and so they went to one of the priests and he said, "Inquire of God for me. If I stay in the city, am I going to be captured?" And the Lord told him, "Yes, you will be captured. Best leave." So he leaves, right? Let me ask you something. Does that affect in any way the fact that David is going to sit on the throne? No. It affects his condition currently, but it doesn't affect what God has already decreed and promised and said that's going to happen regardless of Saul catching him or not catching him. It will not matter here, okay? Incredible here. Incredible. Now, he trembles with violence. Who is this that came? He's going to stay blessed. This is the right thing to do. Now, when Esau heard these words of his father, Isaac, he cried out with an exceedingly great cry of Isaac again. And he said, "Bless me, even me also, oh my father." He said, "Your brother came deceitfully. He cheated you, right? And has taken away your blessing." Let me ask you something. Did he steal the blessing? No, there was no need for him to do this. It was his, okay? Let me tell you something about the Lord. You can sign all the documents you want to sign. And if God's not in on that signing and covenanting with you, it's nothing, absolutely nothing. God's going to have his way. Thank God that God is going to have his way. And he's taken away your blessing. But that event took place well earlier, it didn't, when his brother sold it. Okay? Then he said, "Is he not rightly named Jacob because he has Jacobed me?" That's literally all it says. His name is Jacob because he Jacobed me these 2 times. Now, what was the other time? When he sold his birthright. Now, you hear this confession going out. Now, he sold it fair and square. He had the right to do that, okay? And now he's referencing back to that time and saying, he Jacobed me, he tripped me, but he did not. His brother offered him a silly business deal. And the book of Hebrews says that he despised, it was profane. He profaned the things of God. Profane comes from expressions of walking on holy things and sacred things. That's what he did. It says he was filthy, he was immoral. That's what he was. And, kind of thing. And he just didn't care about it. The things of God he thought were a joke. Just a joke. Right? This Abraham's promise thing is just a joke. Just like many people today think this relationship with Jesus is a joke because they don't know him. Okay? He's done this twice to me. He's Jacob'd me. He took away my birthright. No, he didn't. And behold, now he's taken away my blessing. No, he didn't. You sold it. Okay? By the way, in the United States, can you sell your property for $1 if you want to sell it for $1? Can you? Yeah. Can anybody stop you? No. You have the right to do that. Okay? Now, don't misread this, but some of the early tribes sold their land and property and everything else to the U.S. government. Do they have a right to do this? So today we have people saying they don't have the right to do this, but they do. No matter what your belief is, they have that right, unless you declare that they should be slaves in your mind, and they're not slaves. Okay? Part of being a free people is you have freedom to destroy your world and destroy your life if you're not careful. Okay? He took away my blessing, and he said, have you not reserved a blessing for me? Now, I don't know how many times in this whole passage he asked again, please bless me, please bless me, please bless me. But Isaac answered and said to Esau, behold, I have made him your master. Right about then, if that's not the straw that breaks the camel's back, I don't know what else. Oh, the blessing's not all. He's your Lord. Thing. By the way, this is the word Gibor, and it just means a great man. It's a common term for a man of status and wealth and things like that. But it applies to you too. He's going to get the deal here. And all of your relatives I've given to him as slaves or servants. With grain, new wine, I have sustained him. Now for you then, what can I do, my son? I've given the farm away. By the way, you understand, this is the blessing of heaven and the blessing of earth. It comes through the seed and the line of Abraham, the seed of the woman, right, who's coming, and it ends with Shem, and all the way down through here, right? That's the part that's despised. That God is in this and things like that, but he is. Esau said to his father, do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, oh my father. And he lifted up his voice and wept. And he said, Hebrews, he wept bitterly, but he couldn't undo what he had done. All right? Now, you'll notice something here. Dad just handed out the inheritance. That's the reason he's not leaving. If there's going to be a blessing, it's going to be now. Can't you take part of it back and give me part of it? Isaac, his father, by the way, in the book of Hebrews, he's warning about being immoral, just like he is. We can do things we can't undo. We can't, It's like the Lord tells a young man, marry in the Lord, only in the Lord, but he falls in love with some gal who doesn't know the Lord, marries her. She doesn't want anything to do with Jesus, anything to do with the church, anything to do with that, right? And his goal in life was to be a missionary. What now? He ain't going, okay? Because his wife is certainly not going. And like Esau, he sold that for the passions of this lovely woman, and he should never got involved emotionally with her in the first place, things like that. So we do those things even today, and Hebrews warns us about being immoral like Esau was, and he couldn't undo what he did, okay? Couldn't undo what he did, and we don't want to do that. And when we're young, my goodness, when we're young, Proverbs talks about young men. It says, listen to these old guys out there. They've been around the block, and they've seen a thing or two, and they know a thing or two. Ask them and let them guide you, right? Look for godly old guys who will do that, because they would look at a young man like that and say, no, the Lord told you no. What are you doing? Don't do that. It'll close doors for you like crazy. Okay? Verse 39, Isaac, his father, answered and said to him, behold, this just gets sadder. Just gets sadder. Behold, away from the fertility of the earth, fruitfulness shall be your dwelling, and away from the dew of heaven from above. And your sword, by your sword you shall live. Jesus quoted these words, and what did he add to them? If you live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword. What did he just say about this boy? He's a guy. This boy's got a violent temper. We're going to see that in a moment. This guy would murder you if he don't get what he wants, right? This guy is immoral, and he makes decisions, huge decisions on for a bowl of soup. He's totally out of control. Okay? By your sword you will live. Your brother you shall serve. And it's going to come about that when you become restless, that you shall break off his yoke from your neck. Now this is very true. Some of his descendants, the Edomites, are descendants of the line of Esau. They fought again and again with Israel. And several times they shook that yoke off, of course, and the day would come when Israel would be out of the scene anyway. But it's going to be a long battle, okay? And again, you're going to live by the sword. You're going to be killing people, murdering people. This is what you're going to do. I look at him and said, Dad, that's not a blessing. That's what's left. That's what's left. And again, Esau is crying and weeping over the fact of what he's lost because the jig is up and he's old enough now to understand, I've lost big time. Okay, but he never once admits he did anything wrong. And he's going to blame his brother. He's going to blame everybody else, right? Kind of thing. My goodness, we've probably all done that when we were growing up. We've done it, and we've seen adults do it. No matter what happens, it's not their fault. So Esau, he bore a grudge. Literally, the text says he looked for him. He's trying to set him up against Jacob because of that blessing which his father had blessed him. And Esau said to him, the days of mourning of my father are near. He believes his dad's going to die. Then I will murder. It's not the word kill. This is the word harag. Katal means kill. This is the word harag. I'm going to slaughter that boy, my brother Jacob. Okay? Now, when the words of her elder son Esau were reported to Rebekah, she sent and called her younger son Jacob and said to him, behold, your brother Esau is comforting himself. How? Well, he's planning to kill you. It's like a strange form of comfort, isn't it? I will feel so much better when he is slaughtered. A terrible thing. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice. Now, obeying your mom last time worked out so well. Do it again. Obey my voice. This is literally in Hebrew, run. That's all this. Run for your life. Flee to Haran. By the way, Haran is a word that means like the anger of heat kind of thing. Why it's named that, I don't know. It's kind of a crossroads area kind of thing. To my brother, Laban or Lavan, stay with him a few days. Think 20 years and you'll never see your mom again. Not in this world. A few days until your brother's fury subsides. So you think, well, he'll calm down. He's not going to calm down. We know the story jumping ahead that when his brother finds out he's coming, he meets him with 400 armed men, and he's not there for an escort. God gets involved, intervenes, and Jacob practices his proverb, every man loves a giver of gifts, and so all of a sudden he starts sending these monstrous gifts ahead to his brother and pleading with God and wrestling with God, kind of thing, and God, it says, crippled him. The idea is so you can't run away from it anymore. You're done, kind of thing. By the way, Paul the apostle was crippled as well from the hand of God, and he just said because God was going to do great things with him with the visions and all that other stuff, but he said unless I get puffed up, God had to do this to me, kind of thing. And Jacob's crippling ends up being a blessing to him, so he can't run away anymore, even though he tries to do that. So not every trial is bad. Matter of fact, James chapter 1, he said, count it all joys. When you fall into the word poikilios, it's the word polka dot. They're different sizes and shapes and colors. No matter what your trial is, he said, let it work. God is involved with you. If you know the Lord, he's in it with you, right? Kind of thing. And he's doing great things with you. And he watches, you're part of his shepherding, right? You're sheep of his pasture. And make no mistake, he is a good shepherd and he's watching over his sheep, every one of them. You're not wandering away without him seeing you go, and he'll go get you. He'll do those type of things. And so the trials that he's watching, he sees them, and he says, let them have their perfect work, etc. Now, stay with him a few days until his fury subsides, and he is furious. Until your brother's anger against you subsides, and he forgets what you did to him. Then I shall send and get you from there. Will she ever do that? No. Why should I be bereft of both of you in one day? This is a kinsman redeemer kind of a thing, that he'll kill you, and then the nearest relative will kill him, and I won't have anybody left, kind of thing. And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am tired of living. Expression for I could die because of the daughters of Heth, these Hittite girls. If Jacob takes a wife from the daughters of Heth like these, from the daughters of the land, the Canaanite land here, what good will my life be to me? Shows you what they think of these young ladies. Okay. By the way, they're being very honest. We can bless everybody, but when a husband and wife talk about, I don't want my son marrying some of these girls. I really don't. And I don't hate them, but I don't want them adopting our name. I can't think like that. So Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him, said to him, you shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Now, Isaac is minding his own business, and Rebekah comes in and talks to him about marriage for the boy. This hasn't come up, but she's got to get Jacob out of there. So she sets him up to do it and uses this as a pretense. Arise, okay, and go to Padan Aram, which means the plateau or tableland of Aram. This is upper Mesopotamia, okay, near Haran. Okay, and from there you will take for yourself a woman. Wife is in English, they don't have that in Hebrew, but from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. She's going to head off to his uncle. Okay? May God Almighty, El Shaddai, bless you. El Shaddai, remember the Shaddai deals with the crops and fruitfulness, and make you fruitful. It matches with with Shaddai. And multiply you. May you become a company of people. May he also give you the blessing of Abraham, to you and to your seed with you, that you may possess the land of your sojourning, which God gave to Abraham. By the way, remember this, right after it says, behold, a virgin will conceive, you're going to call his name Emmanuel, God with us. Remember the very next chapter, he says the land of Israel is Emmanuel's land, that boy. It belongs to that boy. And then he says, behold, he says, the people who are in great darkness have seen a great light. And that side of Jesus Christ, when he shows up, that's Emmanuel, right? That's the great light that they see in darkness. Oh my goodness. All through Isaiah, it's an incredible book. And the glory of the Lord shine upon you. And then Paul cites it and says, may the Christ shine upon you. Jesus is the glory of the Father. Okay? So when Jesus said, this is about me, it certainly is. Verse 5. Isaac sent Jacob away. He went to Padan Aram to Laban, son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, mother of Jacob and Esau. Esau saw, now watch this, he has one of those moments where the light clicked on. Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob. He sent him away to Padan Aram to take to himself a wife from there, and that he blessed him. And he charged him, he commanded him, saying, you shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Now notice, he's just getting a clue. Wow, what's Dad doing? Don't marry anybody from around here like your brother did. Don't do that, right? And that Jacob had obeyed his father. Make no mistake, Esau is not a type of a man that obeys anybody. And his mother, and he had gone to Padan Aram. And Esau saw that the daughters of the Canaanite were bad, displeasing, evil in the sight of their father, his father Isaac. Now notice, he just figured out, Dad and Mom don't like my wives, right? What's to like? These Hittite, Canaanite gals, and the Lord is going to warn them early on. And he told Abraham, the iniquity of the Canaanites, these girls, is not yet full. This is that branch. Right? They were very immoral, kind of thing. And so, what a mess. What a mess. And he just figured out, Well, what's wrong with my wives? Well, everything. So Esau went to Ishmael and married, besides the wives that he had, Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son and sisters of Nebaioth. Now notice, he went there and married that because of his dad's view of his wives. Now this woman that he married, her name means sickly. I get a feeling that he's not marrying her for wifely comfort. He's just marrying her because dad disapproves of that. I need to go find a girl that he approves of for whatever the reasons are. So he marries back into the line of Abraham, and somehow maybe that'll please dad, whatever it is. I look at this and I think you're really messed up. You're just so messed up. Just messed up completely. And he's starting to get a clue. But as Hebrews points out, he can't undo this. He can't undo this. And, there are mistakes that we can make in this world that are nickel mistakes or $50 mistakes or whatever. But there are other mistakes that we can make, particularly in the areas of our faith with God and marriage and things like that, that are very quite permanent. And, Verse 10. Then Jacob departed from Beersheba and went to Haran, the well of the oath. Okay, he came to a certain place and he spent the night there because the sun had set. And he took one of the stones in that place and he put it under his head and he lay down in that place. And he had a dream, which Jesus will cite and say that it's him. And behold, a ladder was set on the earth. Its top reached to heaven, and behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on. You guys remember from the Gospel of John said, that's me. You're going to see the Son of Man and the angels of God ascending and descending of him. The word for ladder here, and some of the expressions here are used for the Tower of Babel. Remember, the Tower of Babel, it's called a ziggurat, but it's a pyramid. That's all it is, okay? Go down where the Incans and Mayans are, they call them something else, but they're pyramids. And they're pyramids in Mexico, pyramids in Egypt, pyramids in Babylon. They're just pyramids, okay? They're doing that, okay? And we're going to build a pyramid to the heights of the heavens, this tower, so you can walk all the way up there, kind of thing. By the way, is it possible that they're trying to intervene and do what Jesus is coming to do? Intervene this, and instead of doing it that way, we'll do it ourselves. Thank you, okay? That's the reason there's only two religions. There's a religion of works, you're going to work your way in there, and there's a religion of faith, you're going to trust God because you've already blown it. Okay? Now, and behold, Yahweh stood above it. Now, is this Jesus? It would appear so. It said, I am Yahweh, the God of your father Abraham, the God of Isaac, the land on which you lie. I'm going to give it to you and to your seed, singular. Your descendant, or seed, shall also be like the dust of the heavens, this dust of the earth. This is going to be what Jesus Christ accomplishes. That Jesus brings a bunch of brothers with him, that he has made brothers. Okay? And you shall spread out to the west, to the east, to the north, and to the south. Okay? Let me give you a quick Hebrew lesson. West is the word for the sea. East literally means in the front, which means you're not facing the sea, you're facing the sunrise. Okay? The north, that means up in the darkness. And the south is the word for Negev. Okay? So it's west, east, north, and south. And the Hebrew says to the sea, to the front, to the dark, to the Negev. Just their way of seeing it. Even back then, everybody faces east, and your references are from there. Okay? And if you're telling somebody to go to the right or go to the left, it won't matter which way you're facing, right? Because they're not saying right and left. Those are English terms that we use, but it's not the terms that they would use, okay? So you're telling somebody, turn to the sea, turn to the front, turn to the dark, turn to the Negev, or sometimes turn to the light, depending on where that is, okay? And in you and in your seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed, okay? By the way, there's a couple of times through here, I was translating this and looking at this and think, why is he using this Hebrew form? I don't recognize this form, okay? Because to me, the form is, he's putting the word you in the front and he's putting the word you in the back. So I looked at it. Why wouldn't I translate this? You will bless yourself. That's the problem. That's the blessing, isn't it? And you, all the nations there are going to bless themselves. They will be blessed or bless themselves. So it's like his father tells him, even you will bless yourself by this seed. This is what Esau doesn't want this, but he does. Why wouldn't he translate that? Why wouldn't I translate it that way? And I don't know. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. I need some other scholars to bounce this off of. I think. By the way, Hebrew translation is not an exact science, and it's just such a vastly different language than Greek is or English is. I think. 15. And behold, I am with you. It sounds like Jesus. I'll be with you to the end of the age. And I will keep you wherever you go. I'm going to bring you back to this land. Your mother certainly is not. For I will not leave you until I have done what I promised you. My goodness, what a promise. Jacob awoke from his sleep. Surely Yahweh is in this place, and I did not know it. By the way, that's a phrase we've all perhaps used before. And many Christians should memorize this verse. Yahweh is in this place. Doesn't matter whether I know it or not, he's in this place. And I did not know that. And he was afraid. And he said, how awesome this place. Let me translate this for you. He was fearful. He said, how fear-causing is this place? That's literally what it says. He was fearful. How fear-causing is this place? Right? Now I want you to watch what he's doing. As we go on there, he believes he's in this holy place, a unique place, right? This is none other than God. This is God's house right here. It's God's house. And this is the gate to heaven. It sounds like the Tower of Babel again, doesn't it? This is where you go into heaven to meet God, right here. This is the place. So Jacob rose early in the morning. He took the stone that he had put under his head, set it up as a pillar, and he poured oil on the top of that. He anoints this rock. And he called the name of that place Bethel. Now, Beth is the word house. El is God. It's a house. He called it Bethel, the house of God. However, previously, the name of that city had been Luz. Now, Luz means departure, as in like a fork in the road, right? You can turn, or it can mean turn aside, but it's kind of that idea. You turn aside, park there, and the next day you go left, you go right. Right? However, it was called Luz. Now, Jacob made a vow. He swears a vow, saying, now this is fascinating to me. What he's saying here is, I will serve God if. Okay? I will serve God if. Okay? You hear that today. If God's going to do this, then I have nothing to do with him. Well, you can't approach God on your own terms. Okay? My goodness, you can't even approach a king on your own terms, right? Or presidents, you have to come, and certain things have to be done. Oftentimes, a Middle Eastern king, if you go in there, there'll be a man that will meet with you, and he will show you how you will conduct yourself when you walk into the room. That's how you're going to do. And Middle Eastern monarchs are not like presidents. You can call presidents names all day. If you do that in the Middle East, you just become missing. It's just not done. Jacob made a vow saying, if God will be with me, if he will keep me on this journey that I take, if he will give me food to eat and give me garments to wear, and he will return me to my father's house in safety, shalom, all intact, then Yahweh will be my God. 5 conditions. What do you think? By the way, tell me about his heart. Good? Is he? How'd you like to have this guy in charge of your discipleship program? Teach you about the Lord. By the way, we know they didn't know a lot about the Lord early on. In the New Testament, you find regularly they talk about the faith that came. The faith that came. They didn't have this before Jesus showed up, right? Look at Hebrews. Remember, the way into the Holy of Holies had not been yet revealed. Nobody knew how to get in there. And Jesus came, and when he died, that veil tore from the top down. That's how you get in there. There's no simple way to figure out. It's going to be a violent tearing of God himself. Then Yahweh will be my God. So he knows the name Yahweh. Here are my conditions. And this stone which I have set up as a pillar, it will be it's going to be God's house. We're laughing. This is really just weird stuff, isn't it? It's just really, that's rough. And of all that you do give to me, I will give you a tenth. You're so kind. You are so kind. He vowed a vow. Okay, he does this, and if I return, now it's almost like, are you saying if God doesn't do this, the deal is off? It would appear so. Okay, and again, God says, I'm going to accomplish this through you. It's like, whether you like it or not, I'm going to do this, that kind of thing. And we do that with kids, right? I'm going to take you to school whether you like it or not. You got a lot of years of school ahead of you. The day will come when you don't have to do this anymore. But for now, this is what you're going to do, right? Because your education is going to bless you. When you can read and write and count your cash and pay your bills and things like this, right? Right now, you just want to stay home, watch cartoons, and eat candy bars, okay? But the answer is no. The answer is no. I'm going to bless you. And when I was growing up, particularly when I hit my teen years, all this education, I thought, a bunch of stuff I don't need to know, taking me nowhere, kind of thing, like that. And when I was in particularly junior high school, even more than high school, the whole side of the building was glass, all these windows. And so we could see outside over in the park. And the kids that used to skip school would go over there, and they didn't even hide it. They were just out there. I remember I longed to be out there just for those guys rather than sitting in a class with a pencil and a book kind of thing, right? I just hated to do that. Now, I wish I'd have done it totally different because I couldn't understand then any more than Jacob could. Okay, he thinks he's approaching God on God's own terms. He doesn't understand. He's on you're the next guy on the conveyor belt from Abraham, Isaac. Now there's you, and then it'll go on to Joseph. It's going to hit through Judah and all that stuff. And later on, he will stand before Pharaoh, and he says, "How old are you?" He says, "My years are many and really hard. Life's been hard." A lot of this is brought on himself. He does not marry well, in spite of the command of his mom. And we can only make stuff up. And how about if he had not have done that, wouldn't have done that? First of all, I think he'd have been better off in his relationship with the Lord. Okay? This is just guessing, but I don't know what God would have done. I have no idea. Any more than David would have been captured in that city, what would God have done? No idea. I just tell you this, David would have been on the throne one way or another. Because that was the promise, and that was decreed, and it was done. God had made covenants with him. He was the anointed one. Okay? And God with you and I is going to do, Philippians, my goal in life, Paul said, is to take hold of that which God took hold of me, to take hold of that. And therefore, my calling is God took hold of me so I can take hold of that, and that's what I'm after. That's what my goal in life is, right? To honor the Lord. And what God has for you, that should be your goal. Okay? You don't even have to figure it out. It's his responsibility to get you where he wants you, kind of thing. And we're his slaves. In the ancient days, slaves would get up in the morning, and it's responsibility of their master to communicate them where I want you was over here, right? It's also their responsibility because the slaves don't own anything. It's the master's responsibility to provide all the tools that he needs when he gets there. Okay. Now, we panic in our day, but you don't have to. It's God's responsibility to get you where he wants you. And I wonder how many times the Lord just says, be still. Quit panicking. Fret not, it just leads to evil doing. Quietness and confidence, that's your strength. If you'll have it, just be quiet, be confident. Right? I'll get you where I want you to be. And when you're there, I'll have everything you need to function right where you are. Your Puritan expression. The goal in your life is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. Might as well start now. Father, thank you for your word and showing us this family that you've come through. They don't shine, and many of us in our backgrounds, it doesn't shine. But you're in the business of changing hearts in men and women, and part of what, like when Jacob said his life's been hard, a lot of this he brought on himself. How much I don't know, but I know we've all brought hardships to ourselves before. But help us to remember that in quietness and confidence, that's our strength and our hope as well. To calm down, to just enjoy you and enjoy the day. And as you bring ministry and life to us, we will live it out. And Lord, it's not about what we're doing for you. It's about what you're doing through us and for others through us. And we thank you for that. We love you and praise you. Thank you for this evening in your name. Amen.